All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we will look at the quantum sector today. I think a little overall disappointing compared to yesterday. I mean, a lot of good was happening yesterday across this sector. I want to stress my focus is actually more on the NASDAQ itself. Because if the NASDAQ continues to look good, and today was a really important confirmation day, I think that makes me believe, you know what, the rest of the tech stocks should follow, right? So that's at least, I think, high level what I'm looking at. Again, I clearly wanted more from these quantum tickers today. Maybe this Rigotti bad earnings reaction drove a little bit of it, but really this and this being the NASDAQ, this looks great, right? Yesterday was a doji over all the moving averages, right? All five of them are right here. That right there is, at least to me, a doji candle right there. It's also over a golden line. I mean, that was a really important candle, and that's how I want to answer it, right? It's over a full percent. That's a big physical candle. It's a big number, and look at what I see. It is actually bigger than the biggest candle to the left, right? We're now starting to make this climb. It's a little high on the daily, right? The RSI, I mean, but it's still very healthy on the weekly. So to me, this is kind of signaling, hey, NASDAQ should have some nice weeks in front of it. And I think to me, that makes me think, you know what? Today wasn't a great day for the sector. It wasn't as good as yesterday by any means. But if the NASDAQ is good, if the tech ocean is calm, that means we can take our boats out deeper and deeper, and hopefully we're going deeper into the profits, right? So, that's at least my overall thoughts. Again, we'll talk about the Rigotti earnings. Look, you hear me say it all the time. Earnings are crazy. All right. And this is a beautiful setup to say the least. Unfortunately, earnings completely turned it around, right? QUBT actually just saw some earnings love. I'll be real honest with you. That got me a little greedy on Rigotti, and I broke one of my rules. I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, I think the good earnings that this saw just didn't happen over there, right? And I think that maybe is why this one came down a little bit. Obviously, there's some, technical stuff that we'll talk about with the 100 moving average, right? When we look at QBTS, this is the other one. It looks like this was a pretty nicely drawn golden line, right? Because this is giving a little more resistance than what should have been, since all the other lines are down there, excuse me. And then what's the last one? IONQ. No, IONQ. Yeah, it is. No, is it IONQ? It is IONQ, right? This is the last one? Yes. Oh my gosh, look at that. Sorry about that. Is it IONQ? Wow, I'm like forgetting real quick. Give me a second. I gotta pause this and like validate. I'm so embarrassed. Cool. It was IonQ. My goodness. You can tell I'm not looking at this one as much as the other ones, actually. But this isn't a bad setup right here. And I think arguably this one might be the best setup of all four of them, actually. So maybe even silly on me for not looking at this one. And then if I got time, I think QSI is the other one that caught my eye. That was a really good candle yesterday. Obviously, this isn't a great candle. I see it. But this really isn't a bad candle. This didn't lose too much. And I think this is very much still worth watching. It seems like earnings is what, in a couple days, if this system is correct. They're saying it's on the 15th, so keep that in your back pocket, right? We're going to talk about Rigotti earnings and reaction, but there's something setting up here, so just kind of keep that one in mind. All right, so cool. I like that right there. Before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we gonna do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it. Sorry, I'm crazy busy at work, and I could tell I'm one mind there, one mind here. So I'm gonna talk about the technical thoughts on these shortly. I really want to come back to the NASDAQ real quick and just focus on this and emphasize this one more time. Look, all of these quantum tickers are very heavy tech stocks, right? Arguably speaking, it doesn't get much more technical than a super quantum computer, right? So it's really, really important that the NASDAQ looks good for those to thrive. All right. And I oftentimes refer to the index as an ocean, right? It is so much easier to take a boat out deeper and deeper when the ocean is calm than when, you're watching Deadliest Catch and you're seeing these like 50-foot waves in Arctic waters, right? That's not what we want to trade in. For me, being good means being over all five moving averages, especially on an index. And we're over all five on the daily, we're over all five on the weekly. All right, now look, this week's not over, so I actually still need one more week to confirm. But the good thing is on the daily, I've gotten my confirmation. Yesterday was important. Today confirmed it. Yesterday was a doji never counts. Today confirmed it, right? It's definitely a high 89 RSI, so maybe there's going to be just a little bit of a comeback. But I think at this point, I'm actually focused less on this and really more on this up here, and I'm loving the moving averages. I'm really liking this positive MACD, and I'm really liking the volume that's starting to come back, right? As we were especially in that February drop, right? There was a lot of red days. There were a lot of days that were just nowhere near the white average line. All of a sudden things are actually starting to look better the last 3 weeks, right? And more days are at least at the line, and hey, hopefully we're now going to start to take off because we're over. Like there's things setting up, right? And again, the weekly still needs to confirm next week, but 47 is low enough to make me think we might have a good week, 2, maybe even 3 weeks in front of us, right? Do I think we're going to break this 20,000? I don't know just yet, but I think that lines up pretty nicely right there. I didn't mean to show that. I meant to show this. So this is where the last thing I said on the Discord. So there is a 90-day pause on the initial crazy high tariffs, right? Right now it's about 40%. That's still actually pretty high, right? But nonetheless, it's better than 150%, right? No one knows what's going to happen on day 91, right? Are we going to go back to 150? Are we going to go lower than today? Are we going to go higher than today? No one actually knows that, right? In my head, I think there's about a month and a half of good trading. Maybe even safer to just assume 1 month. And really, I think that goes into this weekly chart. I think this is saying there's about a month here. Maybe even the week after the month, it'll like sneak up, but I just don't know if we're going to break and confirm this on the weekly, but I think there's a good little window here. There's a nice red to green, right? And this could be a good little place to take advantage of some stuff, right? So again, I know the quantum sector as a whole wasn't beautiful today, but I think in my head, I'm feeling comfortable for the next month as long as, we see some quick improvements on a couple of them, right? And really, this is kind of the only one that's immediately scary, right? And I'll go over that scary level, right? And it's all earnings driven. But you saw it on the opening thoughts if you didn't real quick, right? Like QUBT still looks really good, right? QBTS still looks really good, right? And then IONQ still looks all right here, right? And it looks like it just had earnings, so it's not like we have to worry about that. And then I mentioned actually QSI doesn't look that bad with earnings around the corner, right? So most of the sector actually still looks okay today. This was just a little bit of a concern one, and there's been I use the word debate loosely, right? Because I always say, look, what I say doesn't mean it's correct or anything, right? I often refer to RGTI, as the #1 stock in the sector. To me, it's important to just identify a leader and just assume the rest are going to follow. A good amount of people, I don't want to even make it sound like it's one or two, a good amount of people completely disagree and actually think QBTS D-Wave should be the industry leader. In a lot of ways, this 40%, 51% monster earning day really might echo the fact that that's actually correct, right? And this is a 52 million share day today, right? RGTI. This is a 66. So they're kind of neck and neck. And in a lot of ways, you can say that the 50 something isn't really indicative of much because, hey, when the news is here, the earnings is here, it quickly goes back to 200 plus, 100 plus million shares, right? So it's I'm not sure personally if D Wave can do QBTS can do well enough and carry the rest. Right now, I still think it's Regati, but I feel like I'm starting to believe I'm wrong in the conversation. I'm starting to believe that this is looking better. And again, I'm going to say one more time, this looks good. This is over all five moving averages, right? This is over the 8 and the 20, obviously, if it's over all five. And this thing is testing a golden line resistance, right? You always hear me say I respect these five lines way more. I'm just a dude clicking, right? Like a computer generated line is going to be better than me. But knock on wood, I'm pretty good at my golden lines. And yeah, this is a difficult line to break, right? This is, to me, the all-time high line. Obviously, there's more lines up here that could be drawn, but I don't draw them for a reason. This is the one that matters to me. And yeah, we've struggled. We're testing, right? I don't want to use the word struggle yet because let's see how it plays out. But to me, I'm going to say it one more time, going back to let's just look at QQQ. If this can continue, to me, it's really hard to think that D Wave won't break this and go. Right? That is my sincere thoughts. Right? Again, 73s moderately high on the RSI, so that's not even that concerning. 62 is actually still very healthy on a weekly, right? And again, on the weekly, we're over all of them as well. There is no 200 moving average. This thing hasn't been alive for 200 weeks just yet either. So overall four is as good as overall five for me, right? Going back to Regati, all right, what I'm not sure about is was this bad earnings reaction a bad thing because now the leader isn't doing well? Again, if you agree with the D wave comments, in some ways, who cares about this, right? Unless you're holding, and yeah, that obviously sucks, right? But um, I think that's kind of my I don't know, and I'd love to hear from your thoughts, right? But if D Wave's the leader, hey, it should be all good. If Regati's the leader, let's see how bad this earnings reaction goes. All right. On the technical side, I think you hear me say it all the time if you watch my videos, and I'm going to say it one more time just in case you haven't. Look, earnings are crazy. This, right, yesterday's Monday candle, this was a fantastic setup, right? We have green over red on both the MACD and the RSI. The RSI was a very healthy 71. We had an amazing green, 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 red, 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 green, green. Like the next place this would have gone would have been 13, and if 13 broke, it probably would have gone to 18, right? And it was just there. This is one of the best technicals. Volume was over the average for 3 days, and it was the first consecutive 3 days. I mean, this is as good as a Monday setup gets, right? Earnings reactions don't care what technical setup. I have seen the best setups like this one fall to 14. Literally, we saw it all together yesterday. And I've seen the complete opposite. I've seen things deathly under all five moving averages, and then it just skyrockets from good earnings, right? So earnings really don't care about setups and technicals, and generally speaking, your earnings reaction will last until the next earnings, right? I think we'll see what NASDAQ strength can do here. We'll see if the rest of the sector can do well and just kind of help lift Regati. I don't exactly know what made this fall so hard. I don't know if they dropped guidance. I don't know this or that. It seems to be going up a little bit after hours, which, hey, maybe is a decent thing. Maybe some people thought it was a little bit of an overreaction, but nonetheless, you got to respect the earnings drop. And I would just be looking for NASDAQ to recover and hopefully the sector to help it recover. All right. At the minimum, right now, it feels like Regati's probably going to come to 919. That's what seems the most likely. I would want to, yeah, 1130 is our money line. If you break 1130, that goes back to the numbers I just said a moment ago, right? We'll go to 13 very quickly, probably 18 after that, but for now, I think 920 makes the most sense. We cannot go below 9. If Regati loses $9, that's a scary fall to the next line down, right? So just kind of keep that in your back pocket, all right? QBTS, I do believe I gave. Oh, I didn't give the lines. So let's talk about the lines. Look, I think that I would say this. Sorry, I'm like looking and thinking real quick. What's this line? 1010. I don't think we're gonna go below 1010. I think I would say this is extremely bullish over 1010. Okay. I could see 950 maybe coming into play, right? Because I'm going to guess that 950 is roughly where the 8 moving average is going to go tomorrow, if not by Wednesday, right? So maybe 950, 960 is that final, like, don't lose line. But really, it looks like 1010 is actually a very strong line from those back candles that I just zoomed in from. So I think as long as we can hold that, what I am seeing, and I said it again, I think that's a good, healthy RSI. That's a good, positive MACD. We're coming down volume wise because of earnings, right? Like earnings brought us a big 50% day. It brought a lot of volume. We're starting to cool down just a little bit. But to me, I think this earnings reaction basically means we're not going to lose the 8 moving average. And one more time, if NASDAQ QQQ, which is identical, if it can go up and it can go, I guess whatever, you get it, right? The all-time high lines right there. If this thing could head towards that 540, 550, it really feels like we'll break 1124 and basically just start adding 20%, 20%, 20% until NASDAQ cools down. All right, so that's what I'm expecting here. If we were to lose that like 950, I would start to think, I feel like I'd use maybe 860. I think that would be the line below that. All right. Let's look at QUBT next. Okay, cool. Look at this one. This isn't that bad. All right. Obviously, I would have liked it to, or would have liked for the more to happen because again, today was a good Nasdaq day, right? When Nasdaq goes up 1.5%, when the candle looks that good and that strong, you kind of expect all the other tickers in the tech world to do the same, right? So a little disappointing in terms of that, but look, to me, I'm seeing us over more moving averages than under them. We're starting to actually bounce on the 8, bounce on the 20. Like that's some good stuff right there, right? This is the last moving average. I know it's not physically the last of the 5, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. This is the 5th and last one in the cluster, right? So this is going to be a little bit of difficulty. I think a little bit of the Rigotti earnings just stalled it a bit, but yeah, if Nasdaq can do well, this should break that line, right? And I think that's a good line up there. I would what's that? Let's keep 1150 in the back pocket. I could see 1150 being a little bit of a resistance, but really I'm not even going to draw that line. I think that 1435 sounds good, right? I would use 10 bucks, 1010 as the money line. Truth be told, I'll set that alert. I think that's a good alert to set. An alert is not an immediate buy notification, but it's definitely a come check it out, right? So, um, I really would not want to go lower than, yeah, 825. Realistically, if I had to guess, 825 is probably where the 8 moving average will open tomorrow. Don't lose 825 because that's actually a pretty bad fall down to 725. You don't want to lose a buck right there. But you break that, like I said, there's going to be some good things there. And then I'm assuming the weekly it is. That's a good, healthy weekly, right? So this is kind of telling me, I think we got a couple weeks, and I think that goes back into the tariff pause comments that I ended with on the Discord thought. So last, maybe I'll even do one more. So let's look at IONQ right here. Again, IONQ, this is a solid setup on the weekly. It is overall 5. It's a healthy RSI. This isn't that bad a daily at all. And I kind of said this is arguably one of the better ones. It's a 72 RSI. It's a doji overall 5. It was a doji yesterday overall 5, right? Like that's a difficult 33.90 line. Um, there's a lot of green, 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 red, 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 right? Like it feels like the next place up is basically 40 from here. And that's roughly speaking a 20% move right there, right? So I would keep IONQ in your back pocket, and man, I would even call 3470-ish. Let's do 71. An interesting money line right there. I think one thing I also said in the Discord, I just kind of want to share it real quick. It feels like, come on, one more. It feels like tech is taking turns, right? There were some tech stocks yesterday that did well. Quantum was part of it. They're kind of pausing today as other tech stocks do well today that didn't yesterday, and they're kind of taking turns. They're taking the love from the good NASDAQ day, and again, as NASDAQ keeps going, it should all kind of come back, right? And then just real quick, lastly, we'll make this one the last one because I did at least touch on it a little bit. This is a really nice QSI setup right here. Obviously, it wasn't quite the confirmation of breaking the 200 moving average. We definitely held more than 50% candle, which I like. And I even think we did, yeah, we're basically living at this little baby candle right here, right? This one closed at 146. We closed today at 146. So to me, I think on the candle technicals, I like that. We're kind of going up after hours. Nothing really spectacular, but yeah, to me, this isn't a bad today. It really, really isn't. What we are looking for is something to make us believe that 171 is going to break, and really, I would just use this candle. If this thing gets over 151, I think we'll be heading up to 170, just under 20%, right? Because 20% would be 30 cents, and we're adding 20 cents to this thing. And then just like the others, if you get over that fifth and all the moving averages, there's a lot to love above. And I think that's kind of the ultimate theme across these. It looks like quantum is ready to break the moving averages, especially if NASDAQ starts to do well. And it wasn't that long ago that quantum was the hottest sector, right? So if the market didn't forget, I'm ready to chase that again, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.